one of nature's most powerful and mysterious predators, the jaguar. This story takes us to northern Goiás state in Brazil, where scientists recently recorded something extraordinary. In the reservoir area of the Serra da Mesa hydroelectric power dam, researchers found evidence that a jaguar had made its way to an isolated island. What makes this finding so surprising is how the jaguar got there. Back in 2020, the very same jaguar had been photographed on the mainland, about 2.5 kilometers away from the island. Thanks to camera trap setup for an exploratory survey, scientists were able to confirm that this was the same animal. They did this by analyzing the jaguar's spot patterns, which are as unique as a fingerprint. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. For the jaguar to reach the island, there were only two possible routes. The first was a direct swim of about 2.5 kilometers. The second was a slightly easier route using a stepping stone islet, a 1.06-kilometer swim, followed by another 1.27-kilometer swim. Either way, the jaguar had to cross at least 1.27 kilometers of open water. Why is this such a big deal? Because, until now, scientists believed jaguars could swim no farther than about 200 meters. This single journey shattered that record. It showed that, under the right conditions, jaguars are capable of much longer and more challenging swims than anyone had thought possible. The scientists documented this in a new preprint article and used the event to propose a new way of looking at how animals move across aquatic landscapes. They introduced something called an Aquatic-Cost Scale, which helps measure how difficult a water crossing might be for large animals. In this scale, a low-cost crossing is anything under 300 meters. A medium-cost crossing is 300 to 1,000 meters if stepping stone islands are available. A high-cost crossing is anything over 1,000 meters of open water. This new framework matters because, until recently, many people assumed that man-made reservoirs were total barriers to large carnivores. In fact, in some areas, populations of predators collapsed if the islands were more than a kilometer from the mainland. But studies of the Amazon River showed something different. Only partial separation of populations, suggesting that, every once in a while, big cats do manage these daring crossings. The Brazilian jaguar's swim suggests that, in favorable conditions, such as warm water, low currents, and the presence of nearby islands, large felines may use aquatic routes that seem impossible at first glance. Why should this matter to us? Because jaguars, like other large carnivores, play a critical role in keeping ecosystems healthy. They are apex predators, meaning they sit at the very top of the food chain. Unfortunately, jaguars have already lost about half of their original range, which once stretched from the southwestern United States all the way to northern Argentina. Habitat loss, fragmentation, and human expansion have left them increasingly isolated. For jaguars to survive in the long term, they need the ability to move, to disperse, and to connect with other populations. This allows them to maintain genetic diversity, avoid inbreeding, and recolonize areas where the species has disappeared. That's why this discovery is so important. It shows that reservoirs are not always absolute barriers. Some may actually be at least partly permeable. And if that's the case, then conservation planning needs to take this into account. The scientists suggest that future infrastructure projects should include amphibious corridors. These would combine riparian or riverbank habitats with aquatic stepping stone islands. By maintaining gentle shorelines, preserving vegetation along the water, and protecting small islets less than 1 kilometer apart, we can make it easier for jaguars and other animals to cross. This is a reminder that nature is resilient, but it also needs our help. Jaguars may be able to surprise us with their strength and adaptability, but they cannot overcome the larger challenges of shrinking habitats and human-made barriers without smarter planning on our part. So, the story of one jaguar's record-breaking swim is more than just an amazing feat. It is a call for us to rethink how we design dams, reservoirs, and other developments. With careful planning, we can protect both the needs of people and the survival of these magnificent cats.